The forest radiated tranquility as Buddha gathered disciples beneath the ancient banyan tree, its shade a sanctuary of wisdom. The air hummed softly, carrying the scent of earth and leaves, grounding the gathered beings to their shared existence. Ananda, a merchant, stepped forward, holding a golden coin in his palm. His eyes reflected curiosity mingled with unease. The disciples leaned forward slightly, their attention sharpened by his presence, eager to absorb the wisdom that followed his measured words. Silence prepares the soil of the mind, clearing stones and weeds, making space for words to bear truthful and thoughtful fruit. The Buddha looked at the coin, then at Ananda, his gaze unwavering and serene. He spoke with a voice steady as flowing water. He pointed to the nearby pond, its water shimmering in sunlight, saying, "Watch the surface closely and tell me what you see." Ananda observed ripples in the water, their disturbance scattering reflections. "The ripples distort the moon's image," he replied, his voice tinged with realization. Buddha smiled gently, affirming Ananda's words. "Such are the ripples of an unsettled mind, scattering clarity, distorting the truth reflected within. When we silence our minds, peace returns, clarity emerges, allowing us to act and speak from profound wisdom rather than distraction. This web you speak of is neither virtuous nor wicked. It is your attachment that causes suffering." The Buddha held an imaginary lotus, its petals shimmering with unseen light. "As merchants exchange goods, let them exchange trust and virtue. Like the sun gifting warmth to all," he said. "Suppression is a denial of truth. Silence, however, is an embrace of truth. Silence welcomes, holds, and allows truth to grow." Megha nodded slowly, the answer unwrapping her unspoken fears. Realizing the active strength behind the calmness Buddha embodied in every gesture, the group meditated together, the rustle of leaves becoming part of their breath, a collective pause steeped in shared silent awakening. "Let silence serve as your mirror," Buddha spoke softly, addressing the group. "It reveals what is hidden and aligns you with the eternal." Sunlight filtered through the canopy, fragments of golden light dancing upon their seated forms, bathing them in the humility of nature's beauty. "True speech," Buddha continued, his voice steady as the earth beneath them, "emerges from the roots of silence. Otherwise, it lacks foundation. Words without silence behind them become noise, distractions rather than tools to build bridges, heal wounds, and carry wisdom forward." He gestured to the tree, its ancient roots anchoring its towering form. "Speech, like the tree, must be rooted to stand strong." A soft breeze stirred the leaves, harmonizing with Buddha's presence, its natural rhythm reinforcing the lesson of silent grounding and mindful growth. Buddha rose from his kneeling position, eyes fixed on the horizon. "May silence guide your speech, and may your speech honor silence." The disciples bowed, their hearts filled with gratitude, understanding that silence, though simple, was an art requiring constant cultivation and mindfulness. The forest held their intentions, serving as witness to the transformative teachings etched into their minds, becoming silent seeds of awakening. Buddha's teachings intertwined with the environment, showing how nature itself mirrors silent wisdom and the clarity it offers humanity when embraced. He stayed as the others rose, contemplating the surface of the pond, its serenity echoing the peace his presence instilled in each soul. In the following days, the disciples practiced the art of silence, noticing the clarity it brought to their minds, speech, and shared lives. Buddha reminded them, "Speak not for the sake of sound, but for the sake of truth," woven delicately in silent reflections. "Ananda, your resolve transforms this coin into a gift, serving as a light in darkness," he said. The banyan tree swayed gently, its leaves dancing to the rhythm of wisdom's unfolding. Each disciple carried the lesson deeply, their voices later enriched by the wisdom born not of haste but of mindful quietude. The teachings unfolded beyond speech itself, showing how silence reverberates, touching and healing even those who need not speak or hear. Buddha exemplified that wisdom is not in the eloquence of speech alone but in the spaces it allows for truth to flourish. His voice, deliberate and calm, was not only spoken but heard within their minds. Long after his words faded into the forest's hush, disciples began noticing how nature spoke silently to them, the earth, trees, and sky communicating without sound, mirroring Buddha's call to listen deeply. With every sunset witnessed by the disciples, they learned anew that silence was not the absence of light but its gentle reflection. Buddha demonstrated that silence transcends the moment, becoming a foundation for clarity, mindfulness, and the truthful wisdom passed to generations. Use silence, he encouraged, as you would a tool, carving paths for thought to walk freely and for speech to grow mindfully. As the days turned into months, the disciples continued to weave silence into their lives, finding its depth and grounding transforming every interaction. Ananda shared his reflections, saying, "Master, silence has taught me to hear not just words but the truths beating within others' hearts." Buddha affirmed Ananda's understanding, reminding all gathered, "Let your silence be an invitation, opening doors to wisdom unspoken but shared profoundly. Through silence, we cultivate the fertile soil within ourselves, allowing seeds of truth to root, grow, and blossom in our lives." Buddha rose once again, embodying his teachings as his very movements harmonized with the world. Balanced, reflective, and profoundly mindful, the disciples meditated on his teachings, feeling the weight of silence transformed into the lightness of clarity and the peace of truth. The woman watched, her frustration melting into gratitude, her shoulders relaxing, her heart lifted by the simple act of kindness. You see, even in small actions, mindfulness clears the dust from our interactions, allowing compassion to flow freely, the Buddha said. Buddha's presence continued within them, not in constant speech, but in the profound silence that shaped their voices, thoughts, and mindful actions. In silence, they found their voices reborn, not loud or forceful, but rich with clarity, compassion, and purpose, as Buddha had guided them. Another day, Buddha and his disciples walked through the bustling marketplace, the air alive with the noise of human activity. The market swirled with colors, voices, and aromas, a symphony of human life unfolding in its unbridled, chaotic energy. Buddha paused, his calm presence contrasting sharply with the frantic pace, drawing his disciples' attention to a carpenter at work. The carpenter's movements were deliberate, precise, his tools an extension of his hands, crafting beauty with care and intention. Buddha gestured toward him, saying, "Observe closely. Each stroke of his chisel is guided by his awareness, shaping wood into meaning." The disciples gathered around, their eyes fixed on the craftsman, seeing the harmony between his movements and the emerging wooden form. "Words," Buddha began, his voice steady, "are tools like these. Used wisely, they shape understanding. Used carelessly, they create harm." Ananda asked, "Master, how can we ensure our words are like the carpenter's strokes, creating beauty rather than destruction?" Buddha reached for a small, uncarved block of wood lying by the craftsman's side, turning it over in his hand. "Feel the grain," he said, passing it to Ananda. "Know its nature before carving." Words must also align with truth. The marketplace hummed around them, but the disciples' focus remained unwavering, drawn into the gravity of Buddha's teachings. Buddha knelt by the carpenter, examining the wood shavings at his feet, symbols of discarded excess, revealing the essential within. Speech, he continued, should remove what is unnecessary, leaving only what reveals wisdom, compassion, and the essence of truth. He picked up a wood shaving, thin and curled, holding it delicately. Unmindful words are like this, light, but scattered by the wind. The carpenter smiled at Buddha, seeming to understand the parallel between his craft and the wisdom being shared in that moment. Buddha handed the shaving to a disciple, saying, "Recognize this. Words untethered from truth and awareness drift aimlessly, offering no lasting value." Sariputta, inspired, asked, "Master, how do we know when words are truly mindful and not driven by impulse or superficial understanding?" Buddha looked at him kindly, his gaze steady and calm. "Listen deeply. Words must emerge not from impulse, but from presence." He gestured to the market vendors, some shouting urgently, their voices blending into the noise. Lost in the chaotic environment, many speak only to be heard, Buddha observed. They compete with the noise, but their words vanish, untethered to meaning or intention. True words, he continued, are like seeds planted with care. They take root, grow, and nourish those who encounter them. The carpenter wiped his brow, pausing to sharpen his tools, his focus never wavering from the task before him. Even a skilled craftsman must tend his tools, Buddha said. So too must we refine our thoughts before shaping them into speech. He motioned for the disciples to follow as they moved away from the carpenter. Stepping deeper into the vibrant energy of the market, they came across two traders arguing loudly, their voices escalating, drawing a small crowd that watched with a mix of amusement and discomfort. Buddha observed silently before addressing his disciples. Notice how words, when wielded without mindfulness, create division, misunderstanding, and suffering. He approached the traders, his serene presence immediately shifting the energy, the tension softening under his calm and compassionate gaze. Buddha spoke gently. "Brothers, what is it that divides you? Let us listen together and find clarity beyond the loudness of this moment." The traders hesitated, their anger dissipating in the face of Buddha's unwavering kindness. They began to explain their grievances more calmly. Listening intently, Buddha allowed their words to unfold without interruption, creating a space where understanding could surface between their opposing views. Finally, he said, "Words can either build bridges or walls. In listening, we dismantle walls and lay the foundation for connection." The traders nodded slowly, their hostility replaced by reflection. As they began to see the futility of their previous argument, Buddha turned to his disciples. The lesson etched not in doctrine but in the living example of his actions and presence. Speech is not merely a tool for expression, Buddha said. It is a bridge for connection and a mirror of understanding. As they left the market, the disciples carried the vivid images of the carpenter's care and the trader's reconciliation in their minds. They meditated on Buddha's words, realizing the weight and responsibility that came with each syllable they chose to utter. Speak not to win arguments, Buddha reminded them, but to illuminate truths and foster the light of understanding in others. Under a tree outside the marketplace, Buddha sat with his disciples, the hum of the market fading into the background. He gestured to the branches above, laden with fruit. Speech, like this tree's fruit, must ripen. Rushed words are bitter, unready for sharing. Allow your thoughts time to mature, he said, so that when you speak, your words nourish and uplift those who hear them. Buddha's teachings resonated deeply, their clarity striking a balance between profound simplicity and the layered depth of timeless wisdom. Disciples later shared their reflections, finding that mindful speech required not just awareness but also compassion and a commitment to listening fully. "Master, the market is so noisy," one disciple said. How do we find the courage to speak truth amidst so much chaos? Buddha smiled gently, answering, "Truth has its own power. Even a whisper of truth penetrates where loudness falters and fades." The sun set behind the marketplace, casting long shadows across the path as Buddha and his disciples began their journey back. The marketplace, with all its activity, became a profound classroom where the lessons of mindful speech unfolded in real-time experiences. Buddha's voice remained calm yet deeply resonant within their thoughts. His teachings carried not just in words but through lived understanding. Each disciple vowed to practice mindful speech, shaping their words with care, crafting connections rather than conflicts in their interactions. The carpenter's strokes, the trader's quarrel, and Buddha's presence became touchstones for the disciples, guiding their intentions and the power of their speech. Buddha's wisdom illuminated their hearts, showing them that true mastery of words begins with listening, awareness, and the courage to seek truth. As night embraced the land, the lessons of the day settled into the disciples' minds, seeds of wisdom beginning to take root. The echoes of Buddha's teachings lingered in the stillness, shaping their thoughts and actions long after the marketplace's noise had faded away. Another day, Buddha and his disciples entered a serene village, its quiet streets offering respite from the chaos of the outside world. An elderly woman approached Buddha, her hands trembling as she offered a bundle of rice, her gift carried with deep reverence. Buddha received the rice with both hands, bowing low, his actions expressing gratitude and respect beyond words spoken. "Presence," Buddha began, his voice soft yet resonant, "is the soul of mindful communication, the bridge connecting hearts beyond spoken language." The disciples gathered closely, the simplicity of Buddha's action conveying a lesson beyond doctrine. Rooted in shared humanity and authenticity, Sariputta asked, "Master, how can presence transform our words? How do we ensure presence infuses truth into our speech?" Buddha knelt, drawing shapes in the dirt with his finger, the motion grounding his response in the earth's quiet wisdom. "Presence aligns the speaker and the listener," Buddha said. "It removes barriers, allowing words to carry warmth, life, and connection." He gestured to the villagers, their interactions a symphony of care, each exchange enriched by attentiveness and mutual understanding. Words spoken without presence, Buddha continued, fall hollow, lifeless leaves that drift away, failing to nourish or grow connections. One disciple, Megha, noticed a young girl comforting her friend, their quiet exchange embodying profound connection through presence and compassion. Buddha observed the girls, saying, "See how they offer themselves fully to one another. Presence makes their words a healing balm." Presence, he elaborated, is not solely found in speech but in being, a grounding force shaping every interaction deeply. The villagers began to gather near Buddha, their curiosity drawn by his calm presence and the aura of wisdom he carried. Buddha welcomed them with a smile, his expression alone speaking volumes of his willingness to engage fully. Embodying his teachings, a farmer shared his story of hardship, his words heavy with sorrow. Finding solace in Buddha's undivided attention and compassionate presence, the disciples watched as Buddha listened, his silence offering space for the farmer's emotions to surface. Unhurried and unjudged, a disciple named Subhuti asked, "Master, how does meditation help us understand the deeper truths of existence?" Buddha smiled softly, his eyes calm and infinite. Meditation opens the mind like a mirror, reflecting both the self and the interconnected universe beyond. Buddha continued, "A king once built a hall of mirrors, intending to gaze endlessly at his reflection and find satisfaction." The disciples leaned closer, eager to understand the symbolic depth of this tale. Sariputta reflected, "Master, I often speak, but I realize now that my words lack presence. How do I cultivate presence? Buddha answered, begin by truly being here. Ground your thoughts and intentions in the present moment. Free from distraction or haste, he gestured to the sky, its vast expanse a metaphor for openness. Teaching the importance of creating space for connection. Presence demands simplicity, Buddha continued, not complexity. It requires us to set aside our self-focus and step fully into shared moments. A young mother approached Buddha, her child nestled in her arms, asking how presence might deepen her connection with her growing child. Buddha smiled at the child, his joy radiating in the simplicity of the moment. Be with your child as they are, not as you wish them to be. His words resonated with the mother, guiding her to see presence as both action and stillness in nurturing relationships. The disciples meditated on this, realizing presence shaped not only speech but the silent bonds cultivated between people through attention and care. Buddha rose and invited the villagers to walk with him, their journey through the village unfolding as a living lesson. He paused at a well, observing a woman drawing water with care, her actions mirroring the mindfulness he had spoken of. Even simple tasks, Buddha said, are opportunities to practice presence. In presence, even the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Infused with meaning, the woman smiled, her understanding deepened by his observation, her movements becoming even more deliberate and connected to her task. Buddha handed a bucket to a disciple, saying, feel its weight. Be with it fully. Let presence transform even this into mindful learning. The disciple poured the water slowly, noticing its flow, realizing how presence magnifies the smallest actions into profound experiences. Buddha turned to the group, his voice carrying quiet authority. When you speak, let presence infuse your words, grounding them in sincerity. He gestured to the stream flowing through the village, its constant motion a reminder of the ongoing practice of mindful presence. Presence, Buddha said, is not a moment but a continuous commitment to showing up fully in life, free from judgment or distraction. As they walked back, the disciples reflected on how presence shaped their interactions, noticing its depth in their own silence. Buddha's teachings remained alive in their hearts, a guide that extended beyond words into their daily actions and relationships. Villagers shared their reflections, finding clarity and strength in Buddha's teachings, seeing presence as a pathway to greater connection and peace. Even as night fell, the presence of Buddha lingered, his simple yet profound lessons unfolding in the quiet rhythm of life. The disciples understood that presence was a gift, one they could offer to others, shaping connections and enriching their shared humanity. In the village, Buddha's presence planted seeds of mindfulness, nurturing a collective awakening to the power of being fully present. Buddha sat quietly beneath a tree, his serenity infusing the air, a silent call to embrace life deeply and authentically. The villagers and disciples carried his teachings, their lives transformed by the wisdom of mindful presence and its profound simplicity. But how do we maintain this resonance amidst suffering? Buddha gestured gently, inviting subhuti into deeper contemplation. Suffering may distort the melody, Buddha said, but awareness and compassion retune the strings, restoring harmony to the interconnected whole. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.